Somewhere within a sealed steel cube, a pale humanoid paces the eastern wall in perfect silence. It does not eat, it does not sleep in any recognizable pattern. It is docile, malnourished, and almost pitiful. And yet, Foundation directives forbid any lens, any photograph, any glance at its face. Tonight, we open the file on SCP-096. SCP-096 is classified Euclid. The designation reflects not the entity's ferocity, which is considerable, but the fragility of the conditions required to keep it dormant. Containment is straightforward in construction, yet unforgiving in execution. The subject is held within a cell measuring 5 meters on each side, a perfectly airtight cube of reinforced steel. Weekly inspections are mandatory. Every surface, every seam, every weld is examined for the smallest fracture or aperture. A single crack, a single pinhole is treated as a critical containment failure. Under no circumstances is any form of optical instrument permitted within the cell. No cameras, no lenses, no mirrors, no reflective surface of any kind. Security personnel confirm the subject's presence solely through pressure sensors set into the floor and laser detectors positioned along the interior walls. The entity's location is inferred, never observed. Beyond the cell itself, a broader protocol governs the entire Foundation's handling of the anomaly. Any photograph, any video recording, any still frame or captured likeness of SCP-096's face is strictly forbidden. Such materials may not be produced, transmitted, or retained without the explicit joint approval of the assigned senior researcher and an O5 council member. Violations are treated as breach events. The reason for these precautions is documented in full within the following sections. The subject itself presents as a humanoid creature, standing approximately 2.38 meters in height. Its frame is unusually gaunt. Preliminary body mass analysis indicates mild malnutrition, though the entity does not appear to require sustenance in any conventional sense, nor has any feeding behavior been observed. Muscle tone is minimal. Despite this apparent frailty, physical strength recorded during agitated states far exceeds anything the subject's musculature should permit. The arms are grossly disproportionate to the rest of the body, each measuring roughly 1.5 meters in length. When at rest, they hang loose against the entity's sides, the fingertips reaching well below the knees. The skin is almost entirely devoid of pigmentation, a pallid waxen white. There is no body hair of any kind. The jaw is capable of opening to approximately 4 times the normal range of an average human. When closed, the face otherwise resembles that of a person, save for the eyes, which are likewise unpigmented and unnervingly pale. Whether the subject possesses functional sight has not been determined. It shows no signs of higher cognition. It does not respond to speech, gesture, or attempts at communication. It is not considered sapient. It is not considered aware in any meaningful sense. And yet, when observed, it reacts. Under normal conditions, SCP-096 is extraordinarily passive. Pressure sensor readings from within the cell consistently show that the subject spends the majority of each day pacing slowly along the eastern wall, back and forth in a repetitive and undeviating pattern. It does not vocalize. It does not strike the walls. It does not react to sound, temperature, or vibration. Field observation prior to containment indicated the same behavior even in extreme environmental conditions, including sub-zero temperatures well below what any unclothed human body could tolerate. The subject displayed no shivering, no change in gait, no apparent discomfort. In every documented state of rest, the entity appears indifferent to its surroundings. This tranquility, however, is entirely conditional. It persists only so long as no living being perceives the entity's face. The moment such perception occurs, whether by direct line of sight, through a photograph, through a still image, or through recorded video footage, the state collapses. The subject enters what researchers describe as a stage of considerable emotional distress. It raises its hands to cover its face. It begins to scream. It begins to cry. It begins to babble incoherently, producing vocalizations that observers have described as unmistakably human in character, though wholly without content. This behavior lasts approximately 1 to 2 minutes. During this interval, the subject remains largely stationary, hunched, and vocalizing. Once this phase concludes, the entity begins to move. It runs. It runs in the direct line of the individual who perceived its face, thereafter designated SCP-096-1. Recorded pursuit speeds have varied significantly, ranging from roughly 35 kilometers per hour to values considerably higher, and appear to correlate with the distance between the entity and its target. The greater the distance, the greater the velocity. During pursuit, no known material, structural barrier, or physical intervention has been demonstrated to impede the subject's progress. Walls have been passed through. Reinforced obstacles have been torn apart. The physical location of SCP-096-1 does not appear to influence the outcome. Distance, terrain, elevation, and concealment are irrelevant. The subject exhibits what can only be described as an innate awareness of the target's position, moving toward it in a direct and uninterrupted path. It is important to note that this reaction does not occur when the entity's face is depicted through artistic rendering. Drawings, paintings, and other stylized representations do not produce the trigger response. The condition for provocation appears to be direct visual capture of the actual face. Upon reaching SCP-096-1, the subject engages the target with extreme physical violence. In every recorded instance, without exception, no identifiable remains of the target have been recovered. 100% of encounters have resulted in the total disappearance of SCP-096-1. Following the encounter, the entity remains at the site for several minutes. It sits. It does not vocalize during this period. It appears to regain composure gradually, its posture relaxing, its breathing slowing. Once this recovery is complete, the subject stands and begins to move. It attempts to return to what field researchers have described as its natural habitat, the specific location of which remains classified within Foundation records. Its docility fully resumes. Its pacing resumes. It becomes, once again, the quiet, malnourished creature at the eastern wall. Given the nature of the trigger and the ease with which any photograph, any video frame, any casual glance could initiate a pursuit, Foundation analysts have identified a substantial risk of chain reaction events. A single leaked image could theoretically produce cascading incidents across an unbounded civilian population, resulting in mass loss of life and catastrophic breach of Foundation secrecy. For this reason, any retrieval of the subject following an escape event is designated alpha priority. The following is drawn from the recorded interview between the assigned senior researcher and the retired captain who commanded Retrieval Team Zulu 9A during the initial acquisition of SCP-096. The captain describes initial retrieval duty as an inherently hazardous assignment, undertaken with limited briefing. Field technicians had provided only partial information regarding the target. The order given was to bag and tag. No warning was issued regarding the danger of viewing the entity's face. 2 helicopters were deployed. The captain's team occupied the first. A second team, Zulu 9B, followed with a supervising researcher aboard the backup aircraft. The target was located approximately 2 kilometers north of the assigned patrol path. The captain believed, in retrospect, that the entity had not been facing their direction upon initial sighting. Had it been, he stated, the encounter would have ended immediately. The ambient temperature at the site was recorded well below zero, deep into sub-zero conditions. The captain confirmed that the subject stood unclothed in this environment and displayed no reaction whatsoever to the cold. It did not shiver. It did not adjust its posture. The team landed and approached. A corporal prepared to secure the target with containment materials. At this moment, the supervising researcher made contact by radio, and the captain turned to answer. That single act of turning away, the captain believes, is what preserved his life. In the moment his attention shifted, the target turned. The remainder of the squad, still facing forward, saw its face directly. The reaction was immediate. The entity began to scream and cry, vocalizations described by the captain as unmistakably human in character, unlike any animal sound, and deeply disturbing to those who heard them. The squad opened fire. The response had no effect. The subject seized the corporal and tore the limb from his body. The captain recounted the corporal calling out for assistance in the moments before he was overtaken. Sustained fire continued from the remaining members of the squad. Rounds struck the entity repeatedly. The captain estimated at least 1,000 rounds were discharged in total, including a sustained burst of approximately 20 seconds from a heavy-caliber door gun mounted on the helicopter, delivering hundreds of large-caliber rounds directly into the subject. The captain ordered the deployment of an anti-tank weapon, a system he had begun carrying in the field following an earlier anomalous incident. He reported having previously seen the weapon defeat armored vehicles with ease. Against SCP-096, it produced the same visible effect, removing a large portion of the entity's torso in a wide half-circle. Despite catastrophic tissue loss, the subject did not react to the injury. It did not flinch. It did not slow. According to the captain, the entity must have lost the entirety of its internal organs and circulatory volume, yet acknowledged none of it. The skeletal structure remained intact throughout the engagement, and the subject continued to dismantle the remaining members of the squad without pause. When the second team arrived, the captain's squad was gone. Zulu 9B succeeded in placing a containment bag over the entity's head. The moment its face was covered, the subject ceased all activity and sat down on the ground. It was loaded aboard the second helicopter without further incident and transported to the containment site. The captain stated that he did not know how he had avoided seeing the entity's face throughout the engagement and offered no explanation beyond chance. When offered an artist's rendering of the subject's face for viewing, the captain declined, stating that having heard the vocalizations of the entity and of his men, he did not wish to attach a face to those sounds. The interview concluded. Following the captain's departure, the senior researcher formally requested that SCP-096 be terminated at the earliest opportunity. Records indicate the termination order was subsequently approved, its execution assigned to the requesting researcher, its date sealed within Foundation archives. What followed is recorded elsewhere, under the designation of a separate incident. For now, the entity remains within its cube. It paces the eastern wall. It does not know it is watched. It must never be seen.